If I could sit with you for a moment, not across a table, not as someone with answers, just two people sharing a quiet space, I wouldn't start with advice. I don't trust advice the way I used to. Advice often sounds confident. Life rarely is. I'd probably start by saying something simple, something that took me decades to understand. Time changes how you see everything. When you're young, marriage feels like something you can build and protect if you're careful enough. You believe love is a promise you can keep through effort, good intentions, and loyalty. I believed that. We both did. After 60 years, I see marriage less as something you control and more as something you live inside. It has seasons you don't choose. Some are warm and generous, some are quiet, some feel uncertain. We didn't fail. I want to say that clearly, but we didn't get everything right either. Some of our mistakes didn't look like mistakes when we made them. They looked like normal days, like being tired, like choosing silence, like saying, we'll talk about it later. Later sounds harmless, responsible even, but later moves faster than you expect. One day you realize later has arrived, quietly, without asking. I'm not here to teach you how to love or how to stay married. I don't think anyone can do that. I'm just here to share what time showed us in case it helps you notice something gently while you still can. One of the first mistakes we made was believing love had a fixed shape. In the beginning, love was loud. It filled rooms. It made plans quickly and confidently. We touched often. We laughed easily. Love felt like motion, like something that carried us forward without much effort. We assumed that was what love was supposed to feel like forever. But years pass, life gets heavier, bodies slow down, responsibilities pile up, conversations change, love doesn't disappear, it grows quieter. That's where we became confused. When love softened, we assumed something was wrong. We compared the present to the past instead of listening to what the present needed. We mistook change for loss. I remember sitting beside my partner one evening, the house completely quiet, wondering, not angrily, just honestly, is this what love turns into? Instead of asking what love was becoming, we tried to pull it backward, to make it feel the way it used to. That effort created tension, because love doesn't like being dragged. It wants to age the way people do, unevenly, imperfectly. Some years love was strong and steady, some years it was fragile, some years it was tired and needed patience more than passion. We didn't always respect that. We argued over small things that were really about fear, fear that the best part was already behind us. Looking back, I wish we had trusted change more. Not every change is a warning. Some are simply life continuing. We were proud of how little we fought. People noticed. Friends would say, "You two never argue." We smiled when they said it. We took it as proof that we were doing something right. What we didn't notice was how much we weren't saying. Silence can feel generous at first. You let small things go. You tell yourself it's not worth bringing up. You believe you're being kind, mature, understanding. That's what we thought we were doing. But the words you don't say don't disappear. They settle. They wait. There were disappointments we swallowed, feelings we translated into politeness, moments when one of us wanted to say, "This hurts," but chose peace instead. At first, that silence kept things calm. Over time, it made things distant. We misunderstood each other not because we argued too much, but because we explained too little. We assumed the other person just knew. Often they didn't. We weren't hiding, we were afraid, afraid of conflict, afraid of changing something that felt stable, afraid that honesty might open a door we didn't know how to close. Peace built on silence looks calm from the outside, but it doesn't feel close on the inside. Distance doesn't arrive suddenly. It grows quietly, patiently, until one day you realize it's been there for years. For a long time, we lived as if time was generous. There was always tomorrow to talk, tomorrow to apologize, tomorrow to be more patient, more present, more gentle. We postponed difficult conversations the way people postpone uncomfortable tasks, with good intentions and quiet confidence. Then one year, something shifted. It wasn't dramatic, just a doctor's appointment, a waiting room, a few words that introduced uncertainty where certainty used to live. Sitting there, I noticed things I had never paid attention to before. The ticking clock, The tension in the room, the way people avoided eye contact when their names were called. Tomorrow didn't feel guaranteed anymore. It felt conditional. That's when regret appeared. Not about big failures, about ordinary days, times we were distracted when we could have listened, impatient when we could have been kind. Time doesn't warn you when it's about to feel precious. It simply changes its weight. We didn't waste our years, but we assumed too much about how many were left, and that assumption shaped how carefully we lived inside them. After that, moments felt heavier, not in a frightening way, just clearer. You begin to understand that tenderness doesn't belong to later, it belongs to now. We entered marriage believing love meant improvement. If we're honest, we thought we could help shape each other into better versions. Sometimes that looked like advice, sometimes like concern, sometimes like criticism softened just enough to sound caring. We didn't mean harm, but being helped all the time slowly starts to feel like being evaluated. I see now how often we confused love with management. Instead of asking who the other person was becoming, we focused on who they weren't yet. We thought encouragement meant direction. People don't unfold on schedules. Some things change slowly, some things never change at all. Love struggles when it becomes a project. Acceptance doesn't mean giving up. It means understanding what belongs to you and what doesn't. We learned that late. Letting go of the urge to fix someone is harder than it sounds, especially when you care deeply. It feels like doing less when you're used to doing more, but sometimes love is simply standing beside someone and allowing them to be unfinished, allowing yourself to be unfinished too. Somewhere along the way, disagreements stopped being shared problems and became quiet battles, not loud ones, careful ones. Each of us carried our version of truth and defended it gently but firmly. We stopped listening and started waiting for our turn to speak. We forgot the goal wasn't to be right, it was to stay connected. Pride doesn't always shout. Sometimes it hides behind logic, principles, even silence. We didn't raise our voices much, but we kept score. Who gave in last? Who apologized more? Who was usually right? When one person wins, something else often loses. It took years to remember we weren't enemies. We were two tired people wanting to be seen, to feel understood. That realization didn't fix everything, but it softened us. And sometimes softness is enough to change the direction of a conversation, or a life. There's a temptation at this age to turn life into lessons. I try to resist that. Life isn't a classroom. Marriage isn't a formula. What we learned didn't arrive as wisdom. It arrived as understanding, slowly, unevenly, sometimes painfully. We learned that listening matters more than explaining, that presence matters more than solutions, that saying "I don't know" can be an act of love. Most of what strengthens a marriage doesn't look impressive. It's quiet consistency, emotional availability, staying curious about someone you think you already know. We learned that love often looks ordinary, that it hides in small gestures, that it shows up most clearly when no one is watching. I don't carry regret the way I once did. I carry clarity, and even that feels incomplete. Maybe that's how it's meant to be. Not finished, not certain, just honest enough to keep going. If you're listening to this while still in the middle of your marriage, tired, hopeful, uncertain, or all three, I don't want this to sound like a warning. I want it to feel like company. You're not late. You're not failing because things feel complicated. Most meaningful relationships are complicated. You don't need to fix everything. You don't need perfect words. Sometimes noticing is enough. Sometimes choosing kindness when it's inconvenient is enough. You don't need to undo the past to soften the present. I don't know what the right way to love looks like. I only know it's rarely loud, rarely clean, and almost always unfinished. If something here feels familiar, you don't need to act on it immediately. Just let it sit with you. That's often where change begins. After 60 years, what remains isn't achievement, it's shared weather. Two people shaped by the same seasons, inside jokes no one else understands, silences that don't need filling. We didn't master marriage, we lived inside it. Some answers never came. And I'm at peace with that now. Love, I think, isn't certainty. It's willingness to stay, to listen again, to admit you don't fully understand. If age has given me anything, it's comfort with not knowing. And that's where peace settled, not in conclusions, but in openness. If this conversation stirred something in you, hold it gently. You don't need to resolve it today. Sometimes reflection is enough.